Greetings, and salutations, one and all. Welcome to the night shift. It's the last night shift show of the week. It's the show we call Marlon's favorite night shift show. Real Talk Wednesday right here on the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew, and tonight we're in for quite a treat, as we usually are. When it comes to getting information, getting some stories, getting the real deal, there's nothing like hearing it straight from the proverbial horse's mouth. I want to say big ups to each and everyone locked in right now, those on TuneIn Radio, the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew, all the affiliate stations carrying the show, and our friends over at WGLRO who are tuned in, those tuned in on PEMGTV.com, and of course right here at the home of the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew, kevinstew.com. Welcome. Glad to have you. I couldn't do it without you. And you have my word, I wouldn't try.
Last one to run.
Kicking it off a little Hezron, featuring Louis Culture.
From Venice to Sun, to me he was afraid. Never
Track called Warriors Heaven.
more than the agreement. Born and raised as a soldier, just sort of justice. Coming straight from the lineage of King David. To me, he was a hero. To some, he was their sorrow. Why? Where do the warriors go? Is there a place where the streets are paved with gold? Milk and honey flowing from the fountains. There within, is there a warrior's heaven? I'm as small and not always, I think the one. Where do the warriors go? Is there a place where a man born to defend readily gives his life for a friend? Is there a warrior's heaven?
Why? There must be a place for the warriors who broke down the barriers to rest their souls. Must be a place that is warm for the buffalo soldiers coming in from the cold. Must be a place for the brave and the bold where the unsung hero stories are told. Must be a place where the truths unfold as the billows roll. I read about it from the ancient scroll. Coming at this one, we live where politics here, and the people of the higher society don't care. While the rapers and the killers of the people them scared. Your justice declare and the place get prepared. See all of them the good things to see you make happen. It hurt me to see your body lay down in a coffin, but all when your bones them rotten. You're gone, but you're never forgotten.
And though society offers no badge of honor, no bed of promise, they say you are a bad man. But oh, as for me, 1,000 times salute to a true warrior. Somebody tell me, where do the warriors go? Is there a place where the streets are paved with gold? Milk and honey flowing from the fountains. Everything is there, a warrior's heaven.
Why?
Where do the warriors go? Is there a place where a man born to defend readily gives his life for a friend? A warrior's heaven.
I want to say thank you to Paul C Media Group for sponsoring this segment of the show. Paul C Media Group, when being in the moment is priceless, you want to give them a call. What can they do for you? Everything that you see right here on kevinstew.com. They can create your website. They can host your website. They can provide streaming services on your website. All you have to do is give them a call, 754-999-6020.
First to defend.
Or visit them online at pulseemg.com.
Was afraid, never wanted a penny more than the agreement. Yeah. Born and raised as a soldier, just sort of justice. Coming straight from the lineage of King David. To me, he was a hero. To some, he was their sorrow. Where do the warriors go? Is there a place where the streets are paved with gold? Milk and honey flowing from the fountains. Tell me then, is there a warrior's heaven?
I'm small and not know is a thing me want.
Where do the warriors go? Is there a place where one man born to defend readily gives his life for a friend? Is there a warrior's heaven?
Why? There must be a place for the warriors who broke down the barriers to rest their souls. Must be a place that is warm for the buffalo soldiers coming in from the cold. Must be a place for the brave and the bold where the unsung hero stories are told. Must be a place where the truths unfold as the billows roll. I read about it from the ancient scroll. Come in at this one we live where politics here, and the people of the higher society don't care. While the rapers and the killers of the people them steer. The justice declare and the place get repaired. See all of them the good things to see you make happen. It hurt me to see your body lay down in a coffin. But all when your bones them rotten, you're gone but you're never forgotten.
And though society offers no badge of honor, no medal of glory, they say you are a bad man. No, as for me,
I want to go ahead and jump ahead and say thank you to the other sponsors for the night shift tonight, because I have a feeling that I am not going to get to do this as the show goes along, and it will be at the end that I get to do it. In the event that we don't have much time to go through them, I want to say thanks to Althea and their Healing Heavenly Hands. Althea is also a vet. No, not an animal doctor. So outside of being a licensed massage therapist in the state of Florida, operating in Broad County, serving Broad County, North Miami-Dade and South Palm Beach County, Althea comes to you with her table. Just call her, make your appointment. Only requirement when she gets done is that you get off her table. 954-655-9000 is the number that gets you in touch. 954-655-9000. Or you can email her at thealater@att.net. Thanks to Reggae Global Entertainment also. Reggae Global Entertainment takes care of artist profile designs, press releases, legal contracts, copyrights, publishing, trademarks, business registrations, legal service referrals, and so much more. Thank you, Reggae Global Entertainment. And another vet, being a veteran of military service, not the animal doctor. GMAT Music Solutions, thank you. GMAT Music Solutions usually sponsors a musical therapy. I don't know how much of it we'll get in tonight. So I'm trying to take care of some housekeeping before we get into the house living.
Must be a place where the truths unfold as the billows roll. I read about it from the ancient scroll. Come in at this one, we live where politics steer, and the people at the higher society don't care. While the rapers and the killers of the people them steer. The justice.
The GMAT Music Solution takes care of your stage production services, giving you musical equipment, PA systems, DJs, singers, engineers. They bring your event to life. Let's give them a call. 754-307 GMAC. That's 754-307-4622. Now, I don't know if any of you remember some of the things that we talked about when I got started with talking about veterans and war. Actually, this whole thing started out with talking about war and the psychological effect of it. And Althea called in, and it became a series after that. And you know, I'm not mad at her. I'm quite grateful because a lot of what she started sharing with us, we really never really thought about, or we really didn't know about it. We didn't even give it a second thought until Veterans Day would roll around. And when that one day came and went, that was it. But this is so much more than just that. If you're overseas and like to get in touch with us as we go through the show, Skype is available. You can find me at kevin.stew on Skype. Otherwise, you can call, you can text 773-789-STEW, 773-789-7839. And the stew pot is always available. Come on in, the water is always fine. It's where we keep things bubbling. What is a stew pot, you may ask? That's what others call a chat room. But we're fancy over here, so we call it the stew pot. In the background, the music from Louis Culture being featured on this track by Hezron. It's called Warriors Heaven.
Coming straight from the lineage of King David. To me, he was a hero. To some, he was their sorrow. Why? Where do the warriors go? Is there a place where the streets are paved with gold? Milk and honey flowing from the fountains.
I was waiting for a couple of warriors to check in. When I say big up to Marlon in the stew pot already. Post of Real Rockers. Real Rockers airs just before the night shift every Monday and Wednesday. Marlon is a reggae music entertainer extraordinaire. The wealth of knowledge this man holds.
For the buffalo soldiers coming in from the crowd. Must be a place for the brave and the bold, where the unsung hero stories are told. Must be a place where the truths unfold as the billows roll. I read about it from the ancient scroll. Come in at this one, we live where politics steer, and the people at the higher society don't care. While the rapers and the killers of the people them steer. The justice declare and the place get repaired. See all of them the good things to see you make happen. It hurt me to see you your body lay down in a coffin. But all when your bones them rotten, you're gone, but you're never forgotten.
And though society offers
So I was saying,
no better,
some of the things that veterans
they say you are a bad
go through include
as for me. 1,000
amyloidosis,
what you want, yeah. Sometimes
conditions that affect things like the heart, the kidneys, the liver, the lungs, the joints.
there a place where
That usually happens to veterans exposed to herbicides.
money flowing from the fountains, everything is there, what is there?
You have brucellosis.
Where do the words flow?
This is actually a bacterial disease. And symptoms include profuse sweating and joint and muscle pain. Typically, you find that happening to Gulf War veterans.
Clear and the place get repaired. See all of them, the good things we see you make happen. It hurt me.
There's Hodgkin's disease.
But all when your bones them rotten, you're gone, but
This disease is actually
Society offers
a lymphatic system cancer.
no better promise. They say you are a
Its symptoms can include swelling of the lymph nodes. It often affects veterans who are exposed to herbicides.
what you want.
And here we have someone joining us already. Big ups to you. Happy new decade to you, ma'am. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Just a second. Let me add some people to this call here. Hello?
It's the night shift, you there?
Yes, sir, and you are live. Welcome, 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 Donnie. You know what? Let me give you a quick introduction.
Hello,
on
this night? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Welcome to the night shift. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to unfold in front of your eyes. So, just before Donnie called, I got a call from from our very own superheroes therapist, Jess Jefferson. Happy new decade to you, Jess. And welcome to the show for the first time for this decade, Donnie. Welcome, welcome. Donnie, meet Jess. Jess, meet Donnie. Donnie Walker.
Hi, Jess. How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing well.
So,
Awesome.
How are
And
you?
awesome. And I brought a special guest. I brought a Marine. We're just going to identify him as Marine because there's a lot of social media backlash out there, Kevin.
Yes.
So we're just going to I have a Marine on the line. And we got into some very interesting conversation, ladies and gentlemen, and I would like for him to be a part of this conversation this evening on the air, okay?
gladly.
Are you there, Marine?
Still here.
Okay.
Welcome, Marine. Welcome
Is
to the night
tonight's
shift.
talk on military?
Tonight
thank you.
we're looking at law, life after war, and
Oh,
I'm getting a surprise call from the superheroes therapist gentleman. This lady here operates out of South Florida, and when I say a superheroes therapist, that's exactly what she is. She is a therapist, and she works with first responders primarily,
I do.
and
Veterans. Those are my
And-
people because my husband is a veteran.
veterans. And Jess, these two gentlemen are veterans.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your service to our country.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now, I have been doing, this turned out to be a little bit of a series, and it started with our very own Althea of Healing Heavenly Hands, sharing her story about being in the military. And although she wasn't deployed overseas, she was in the military during war times. And last week, we got the story from her nephew, who was a 20-year veteran of the military of the U.S. Army, and he told a little bit of his story. And I have been talking with Donnie back and forth a little bit, sharing messages, and Donnie is a veteran himself, and Donnie is also a broadcaster. Donnie is the man behind WGLRO. Ladies and gentlemen, most of you hear me talk about the WGLRO. This man here is the father of WGLRO, and but he's wearing a different hat tonight. He's wearing a veteran's hat tonight, and I thank you for coming out and sharing, Donnie, because I know it's past your bedtime and all. Being a morning show host. So I truly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And I thank you for doing this, Kevin. Seriously, you're doing outstanding work, my friend and brother.
Thank you.
I'm honored to have you on the radio, on our station, seriously. And this topic, you touched me with this topic, because we have veterans, and if I'm understandable, your wife served as well.
Yes.
Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
And I want to take this opportunity to thank her for her service to this country. And the veterans, that's why I brought the Marine on. There's so many stories that are not told that need to be told. And it's rough. For me, it's making a transition. I'm just going to put this in there. Making a transition from the military back to the civilian world, it was difficult for a long time, man. I still fight. I still have some demons, you know. I still have some demons that I'm dealing with.
Now, Donnie, you served when?
I went to the Persian Gulf War. I joined in 1980. I went in on the reserves in 84. And I stayed way past my time. I went to the Persian Gulf War in 1990. I went to the Persian Gulf War. That was the first conflict I was involved in.
Yes.
That was under George Bush Sr. And
right.
then I went to Bosnia in 1995. I'm only joined because I have a half brother that he got drafted. Okay.
Okay.
And my father served, and I figured it was my civic duty to do my duty.
Right.
And I think I got it wrong. Maybe I shouldn't have served.
You say that why?
You know? It's not what you see on television. Number one. Okay. It's nothing like what you see on TV. All the Army stories. It's not even close to that. It's very different. It's very shaded. A lot of promises are made, and a lot of promises are broken. Okay. That's just my opinion.
Right.
I mean, what can you add to this?
Well, I was not I am a veteran. I served 20 plus years as well, but I was not a combat veteran. My time in was from 75 till I retired in 2001, just when the towers hit. So 2011, so I retired in February. I retired during that time period. My experience, I joined the military because of the challenge. My brother went before me, and he challenged me to join, so I did. And 20-something years later, here I am. And it was a great experience for me because I had several duty stations. I actually chose them as career enhancers. And a career enhancing duty station is the duty station that we picked. So we have a better chance to get promoted if we have a successful tour, such as recruiting or training recruits or ski duty, embassy duty during that time. It's called career enhancers.
Yes.
The most disappointing time I had was basically after I retired, dealing with the Veterans Administration. So I heard my brother Donnie say the things that are shown and talked about, it's not exactly what it is. I mean, some veterans have good experiences with the Veterans Administration. It's just the support takes so long to come to get claims, especially when all the evidence, they have through examinations, through x-rays, all the things that they ask for in order to make a determination as to how a veteran is going to be rated. It appears nowadays that they do everything they can. They rush these claims through, and they miss a lot of things. Veterans don't get what they deserve, even when the evidence is right there in front of them. They're so busy rushing these claims through that they miss a lot of things. And the frustration is that they keep wanting you to get reevaluated for the same thing they evaluated you for. And it appears sometimes they just want to frustrate a veteran, so you quit. When you quit, they win. It just takes a lot longer than it should to get claims through, especially when you have evidence. Now, I know understand, in reality, there's a lot of fraud that goes on in any occupation, especially with the federal government. Understand that. But when someone has a legitimate claim with all the evidence and you still deny them when you have no reason to, again, the frustration comes in when the question will be, what more do you need me to do? I've done everything you've asked me to do, but yet you still denying the claims when all the evidence is right there in your face.
So to touch on that, Mr. Marine, my husband served 2 tours post 9/11, and had some shrapnel in his arm. He's right next to me. Wasn't shrapnel?
Yes.
He hit his arm on a missile, and a piece of bone broke off inside of his arm. Sorry. He's not a social media radio person, so he's in the car, and he's nodding his head and gritting his teeth like, I get it. But I remember that I would come home and find him toppled over in pain. The piece of bone would go into his elbow joint, and it would get stuck. Yeah. So I find him on the floor holding his elbow, crying. They were like, he's fine, he's fine, he's fine. I went to that Miami VA, and once I had turned up on them, I understand I'm a social worker. I will run all the way up through this ring, like literally. Talk to every doctor, every nurse, every clerk. When I go to, like, where's your wife now? He ended up having surgery, 3 years ago? All of a sudden, after I showed my behind at the VA,
yes,
all of a sudden the X-ray showed the pieces of bone in his arm. It took out one size of a marble, one that was smaller. He said he tried to get disability when he separated.
They said there was no medical evidence.
But they said there was no medical evidence because he didn't go to the hospital enough to have it documented.
I was flightline personnel.
He said, but because he was flightline personnel.
I went to the hospital, they just gave me Motrin and sent me back to work.
Just Motrin?
Yes, he was flightline personnel, and he was overseas. So when he would complain, because he was the person fixing the planes, were able to go out and fight, they would give him Motrin and send him back.
That's exactly. I want to jump in for this. That's exactly what they do.
I concur.
And sir, thank you for your service. That's exactly what they do.
Yeah, thank you,
They
Jess.
give you Motrin. Motrin is the catch-all, Mr. Jess. It is. That's exact. And the Marine is right. I just want to say something that's so important here. You know, it's sad that we go off and fight for our country and come home and you have to fight the same country for benefit. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
But there's also no reacclimation process. So as Kev said, I work with veterans. I'm a service to the Armed Forces through the Red Cross facilitator. I go out yellow ribbon, pre-deployment, post-deployment. I've done a veteran psych unit. And the key term is you train me to fight and view everyone as my enemy. And I come back home and you've not trained me how to return to civilian life.
Right.
And when I respond in ways that I've been trained to respond, I'm demonized, criminalized, I'm over-medicated, I'm dissociated from my family, my wife doesn't get it, my children don't get it. Most time I don't get it because I've been taught to live this life in order to survive, in order to keep my job and my livelihood so my family can get these benefits. Now that I'm back home, how do I learn to be acclimated? Who teaches the course on getting back to civilian life?
Right.
What happens when my wife doesn't fall in line with the chain of command? What do I do then?
Can the Marine jump in with another perspective?
Oh, yes.
Sure.
Possibly address that. The other perspective is part of the acclimation process is is when you return home, you want to be able to talk to somebody who either can empathize or sympathize with you. And the problem with the VA is only a few of them have ever been veterans. So it's hard to empathize with a veteran if you've never served. And I know it doesn't mean that you can't be supportive of someone even though you've never served. But if you're going to service a veteran, it's a lot of things, the frustrations that we have. If you serve, you can empathize with that. But when you don't, when you see it as just a job, it's just a job so you don't work as hard to support that veteran who has maybe have a transitional issue, because it's just a job to you. So you're not going to follow through when you should. It's like reading scripts, all the phrases they come up with, like "We love our veterans." Maybe next year they'll have another phrase they'll use to pacify veterans, but we don't want pacification. We want to sit.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That normalizes and humanizes and makes your experience a human experience versus, so I can't ever relate to getting up early in the morning and having to do things as I'm told. When I probably all the time, you would not survive in the military. He's absolutely correct. So that level of dedication and service to even be able to get to a point where you're an officer, I would have flunked out after MEPS. Like, I'd have been done. 6 a.m. What drill? What corners and quarters bouncing off of stuff? The bed is made, sir. Leave me alone. Like, that, my whole attitude is jacked up. I couldn't have done it. So understanding all of those pieces, God.
It's not for everyone. It's definitely not for everyone. But
it's not my attitude and my chat back. It is not gonna work.
Right.
But I do agree, and that's in every field, not just in the social services field. People come into jobs for finance. They come into it for security. I have a practice of 13 people and a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist that I have that works for me is a veteran. And we are all humans first. Like, before we're anything else, we're a human. Mm-hmm. And I believe people on the level of their humanity, I might not have ever been to war, but I can attest to having been lonely, having been sad, having been misunderstood. It may not be the exact experience through and through, but the emotions that humans go through in general are ones that we can relate one to another. Yes, and I think that there's so much validity to saying I have that same shared experience.
Right.
And that's very helpful. I know in South Florida, I know several veterans that serve as veterans. And the veterans that go to them are completely satisfied, as are the veterans that come to me. But it's also because, more important than my time clock or my paycheck, that you're a person. You're a part of my community. You're going back home into an area that I live and work in and have my life in, and you're a part of a whole that makes my life go round. Maybe your wife and I go to coffee at the same place. Maybe we shop at the same grocery store, whatever. But if a part of my community is broken, veteran or not veteran, it's very important for me to find out how I can help that part of my community heal.
Yes.
And understanding how ostracized somebody can be after serving and coming back and feeling there really is nowhere to go, no one to go to, nobody gets it. That's another level to exacerbate anything that happened during your service while you were gone. The things you can't talk about, the things that no one ever mentions, the things that you go to your grave that even if I am a veteran, you can't necessarily share with me.
Right.
Can I this is the Marine, can I get the issue to kind of chime in on what the young lady said when she talked about the husband was getting some flack pretty much because a lot of they said his condition was not service connected. This is what I want to address at this time, if I may.
Right. Go ahead.
Now, I'm not sure what he got out as, but usually as an enlisted, he's for and above a basically leader in the leadership position. Mm-hmm. And as you go higher, E4, and once you get to the E6 and above, once you reach the E6, it is very hard for us to go to. A lot of us didn't go to medical because you can't be seen as a leader if you're always in sick bay.
If you're weak.
It's hard to lead someone.
If you're quote unquote weak.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times, in my case, being in the infantry, I didn't go to sick call. I had troops went, but we could not go no matter what we endured. We had to be that force and that leader to lead by example.
Exactly.
Such as we went on an example would be a 20+ mile color conditioning hike.
Yes.
Even though I may have been hurting, I could not get in that vehicle riding, passing troops who are also hurting. We just don't do that in the leadership position. So you're not going to have You're not going to be listed at have a pre-existing condition if you haven't been seen, because we don't go to sick calls, not because we're not hurt. It's because of that, because what we have to do to be the leader by example.
Exactly.
And the second thing is, and I'll end it with this, is with that pre-existing condition, even though the military, all their pretty much how they rate things is they focus on pre-existing. I have a condition, I won't mention what it is. It was not, I didn't know what it was before. Okay, I can say it. It was sleep apnea. I'll use that for an example.
Okay.
I have been tested for it twice. I've been diagnosed with it. I didn't know it was a condition before I joined the military, because the symptoms that were leading up to what they consider sleep apnea, I did not have. Even though I was tested for it, examined after I got out, and I was never rated for it because they said it was not pre-existing, but I had all the symptoms. I didn't know it was a condition before I went in. That was not listed when I went. And the young lady's husband's case with the shrapnel, it shouldn't have mattered. He couldn't have got it from anywhere else except being in the military. So
Right.
whether it was pre-existing or not, even if you see it on examination, on the x-ray, that should have been good enough. Maybe not pre-existing, but he still has it and he served.
And that was something that was raised last week in last week's show, is that here it is, a veteran of 20 years is going to go in and say, hey, this is what I am dealing with. Only to be told, well, this didn't happen when you were serving. Well, why does it matter? Why does it matter? Having a pre-existing condition or not, why does it matter? When you were over there fighting for your country, based on whatever story you were given to go out there and get your job done. When you were out there getting the job done, nobody questioned whether or not you have a pre-existing condition or anything else. You were out there doing it. Right. Now you're back and you need this service. You need this help, whatever form it may take, whether it be physical, whether it be mental, whether it be emotional, whether it be financial. But you cannot get it. That I can't see through that. But specifically the medical. Let's look at the medical and the psychological under that umbrella. In the training, and just like you just said, Marine, you cannot be seen as weak, perceived as weak, which means there goes the human factor.
That's correct.
So I saw a video and I shared it on social media, and I asked a couple of friends outside of how I shared it on social media, I asked a question, how close to the truth is this? And it was a Marine telling his story. And in it, he says, we're just considered boots. Get more boots on the ground.
Exactly.
That's correct.
And the Marines are taught they don't die, they just multiply. Okay. That's number one.
No, is that for real though? Is that a part of your training, Marine? You don't die, you just multiply?
What that pretty much means is our job is to train the next generation of fighters. Okay. And even when somebody that's doing the training, like I was doing, I trained recruits. I was part of one of my career enhancement duty stations or billets. We teach them that you fight on in spite of pain. Leaders can't show weakness. And my goal is to raise the next generation of fighters. So in that case, we train as many as we can to be the cream of the crop. And to not succumb to any signs of weakness or pain. You got to press on.
And I just want to add something else that they throw in there. The Marines are off, and being Army, I have a lot of friends that are Marines and Air Force and Navy, and they're also, and I heard this from one of my fellow buddies, if the Marine Corps wanted you to have a wife, they would have issued you one.
Mm.
Well, they're kind of just motivational phrases. I mean, a lot of things we do. All branches are kind of the same thing, so I
Yeah.
don't want to just
Yeah.
make it just
I mean, don't get
Right.
me wrong. Don't get me wrong, because the Army has some of the same things.
right.
And I want this to be understood. I'm not here. I'm not going to bash right
Yeah,
now.
we're not
But
we're not,
I'm
we're
going
not
to say
bashing the military.
I want to say that's right, because as they say, I volunteered. Okay, I volunteered. I wasn't drafted. I have a half brother who was drafted. Only joined because he was drafted. I watched him come home from Vietnam. He was missing in action twice.
Mm.
Okay, this is true. He missed in action twice, and my mother and father went crazy. They went crazy.
Go ahead, Johnny.
And I only joined because I was proud of him. He was my hero growing up.
Right.
He was like a superhero. And don't get me wrong. I love the military. In my opinion, is one of the biggest. I call it fraternities, sororities on earth. All you got to do is say I served, and we gravitate to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but life after, and the Marine brought it out, is so important. We don't have enough people working in the positions that have served, because they say if you can't know my struggles if you haven't walked in my moccasins.
Right,
Yes.
you can't empathize. You can sympathize in your humanity, but you can't empathize because you never walked in my shoes. But I want to jump in and not leave out the spouses.
Yeah.
The spouses are really our support base, because if we know we have a spouse or children waiting on us, that's our motivation to do what we do, to fight through it, to make it back to them. But the problem that's never addressed is what do spouses go through. I know it's not just focused on military guys. And my 20 plus years of marriage, was lucky enough to have just one wife, and that was a blessing. And she was a perfect woman for a career military man. But what we forget is the psychological effects it has on the wives. But as far as the military guys are concerned, we do what we have to do to make it back home to our families. And they are our biggest support mechanism. In spite of all the other things we see, trying to be great leaders for those that are subordinate to us, the key is to make it back to that family, and hopefully make it back to a family that's intact, and that we can carry on and become part of that family again. And that's hard also for a member to come back with all kinds of psychological issues for a spouse to have to deal with.
Right. And
I'm go ahead.
well, go ahead. You say your piece, because I was just gonna direct something towards Jess.
And I just wanted to add to that.
Yeah.
It's very important. And I went through 2 marriages because of the military. Okay. And my second wife, she was in the military.
Mm.
But she also, at the end of our journey, she came clean, and she admitted she apologized to me. It was 4:00 in the morning when she called me. She said that she had been over to Afghanistan. Okay, she had been where I've been, and she said, "I want an apology. I'm so sorry."
Mm.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't understand anything that you were saying. But I've been there now, and I know just what you went through, and I appreciate that. I mean, this topic that you're touching on, it needs to be aired out here, because there's so many veterans out there, my brothers and sisters, that want to come forth, that want to talk, but they don't want to be knocked down. They don't want to be ostracized. They don't want to be viewed. And the Marine brought up about a heck of a point. I was a non-commissioned officer, and our creed in the military is no one is more professional than I. I'm a non-commissioned officer. I'm a leader of soldiers. I wasn't allowed to get sick, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wasn't allowed to show no sign of pain. I'm a leader of soldiers. I'm a professional. I don't get sick. I fight through the pain. I train troops. I took troops to combat more than once. More than once. And a lot of my soldiers right now, they call me and we talk every day practically. That's my network, one of my networks. Other than you're my radio family.
Yeah.
And my circle of friends is very small, because a lot of things I'm just not going to talk about or ever share with anyone because you wouldn't understand.
They wouldn't understand, yeah. And
you wouldn't understand.
And so many tend to judge before they try to get an understanding.
Exactly.
Jess, as it relates to the spouse, how many spouses have you worked with of military personnel? And with you being a spouse of a vet yourself,
I think the only person more complicated to deal with than a military person is a military spouse. They've learned through their experience that their community is who they are family with through their husband or their wife's service. So in my experience, it is a more closed community than even dealing with the military service member themselves, because they've learned to operate in the silo of the members on their base, the members of their unit, the members that they're with all of the time, because they have that shared experience of, okay, I'm having my first baby and my husband is overseas and he'll be back for a little bit. Or I found out I'm pregnant. How do I tell him? Like all of those things that aren't air quote normative experience when you think about being married or raising children. In my experience, military spouses are more reserved because they have a lot more to protect as far as their spouse and their role, and never cracking or looking soft or wanting to expose that there is a family issue. So they take the vow that their spouse has taken to protect their country, to protect their spouses at all costs.
That's true.
Research does show that military spouses and children have higher levels of stress and different things of that nature. But as far as me working personally with someone outside of a group or facilitating a workshop where it's for military family members and it's a safe space and I'm coming into their closed space, welcomed by another military member, that is a very close population. So I do have other friends that are military spouses, and their biggest thing is like excommunication from divorce or death of a spouse. So that for me is an area that it feels almost impermeable, and it's not because they don't want or are not open to the assistance or kind of somebody to walk through it. It's not something that they believe they should need to access. There's that desire to be strong and okay for their partner. And if I come in, I get help, or I talk to somebody, am I still not strong? Not because they don't go to treatment. I've just not experienced them coming in saying, knocking on my door and saying, hey, I want to talk to a therapist. This is a struggle for me. It is their honor to serve their family in that way. Right. And complaining about it seems like, well, why would I complain? My family member is doing this, and I have the honor to stand next to them and to support them. I shouldn't feel weak or sad or lonely or upset or depressed or whatever may be happening for them. So I agree with both gentlemen that spouse support is very, very important.
You see, I want to share something. Go ahead. I want to share something very quickly.
Yes.
Ms. Jess, and Kevin and Lorene. I want to share something that happened while both me and my wife were serving. Okay, I have to share this because at the time it was very painful. In 1994, we were stationed in Germany, and 2 years later, 1996, my wife got pregnant. And her company commander and my company commander, they lost their minds because she got pregnant and had to come out of the field. And they approached us and told us, why didn't we talk to them before she got pregnant, before I got her pregnant?
What?
Yeah. I'm serious about this.
So you're supposed to get permission to have sex with your wife? Is that?
Yeah, pretty much so. Yeah. After that, I'm serious. I'm dead serious what I'm telling you. And she came to me in tears. She said, your CO gonna be talking to you because my CO just talked to me. I'm like, what? She said, I'm pregnant. I said, yeah, okay. And my company commander mad. So her company commander called my company commander, and my company commander pulled me in and said, your wife's pregnant. I said, and the moral of the story is what, man?
Mm.
And both of us were very competitive. We were always at the top of our classes in everything that we did.
Right.
Stayed physically fit. So we had to work twice as hard now to prove that, we were A+. They were mad about this. And they were upset bad. And they held it against us. Yes, they did.
See,
Absolutely.
these are the things.
It affected unit readiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Because it affected unit readiness.
Exactly.
I can attest to that. I work with first responders, I work with firefighters a lot. And I have a lieutenant at one of the stations that I'm assigned to that got pregnant. That was like, I'm going to hide my pregnancy as long as humanly possible. I wasn't like I'm going to be an invalid and I can't do my job. She was over benevolence. She had worked her way up to lieutenant as a female in a completely male-dominated world. Was able to hang with the boys, and she was like, they're asking things like, "Am I going to be okay to pull the hose because I'm pregnant?" Just little things. And she was like, "It is the most demeaning thing to come to work and something that's natural that I'm excited about for my family to now be an issue of job performance or of safety." And you would think with the fire service being around for 1,000 years, they would have things in place. But the IASF just this year had to put in provisions for breastfeeding for women. So thinking about that and then exacerbating that by being overseas or having a job where you are not only working 4 days on, 3 days off, your work and your life is overseas. Your tour is 6 months, and having to come back home early or being demoted or being looked at like you're not able to do or you're compromising unit safety and unit readiness.
Yeah, that's crushing to someone's ego. Male, female, it doesn't really matter.
Correct.
You're really just trampling and manipulating someone's ego. And apparently it doesn't stop when you leave. Which takes us back to where we started with the services provided for veterans. It's lacking. But I'm also hearing, and I've been trying to reach out to people on the VA side, and haven't been very successful. But I'm hearing that it's constantly resources are taken away from Veterans Affairs.
I can get you a VA social worker.
Sorry, go ahead. What was that, Jess?
I can get you a VA social worker to come on, but that system of care is broken at best. It's broken at best. I'll leave it there just because it's broken at best.
No, and I heard a friend of mine called me just yesterday, and she is job hunting, and she said someone told her, "Hey, we have tons of jobs here at the VA. You should come apply." And I'm like, wait a minute. I was just talking to some vets. In fact, I'm currently what has turned out to be a series on the effects of war. And when I talk to these vets, it's like the common denominator is services for veterans and the lack of it. And
so if you think about the system of care that's always hiring, how long takes somebody to go through orientation and get proficient at their job? Let's say 30 days from the day they hit the force become even remotely proficient. In that time of them learning proficiency, they are touching people, they're touching lives. Every day they're at work learning, air quote, their job.
Right.
And the turnover for the VA is ridiculous. The arrangements for VA healthcare, for VA shelter, for VA medical care, for VA dental, like all of that stuff is trash at best. Not because not because there is not a desire to do it.
Yes.
There's a large system and structure with poor infrastructure, not enough hands to do it well. And when the turnover is so high, you lose so much when the fidelity to a model cannot be kept because you're retraining and retraining and retraining and retraining and retraining.
Right.
Veterans' lives, nobody's life stops because the system of care can't keep employees. People are still enrolling and discharging, having real life happen, getting pregnant and getting ill, having toothaches, whatever, mental health crises. All of things don't stop because somebody's in training.
Mm-hmm.
And there's constantly positions available. And for me, the part is that is the most like disparaging or the most hurtful is that the access to care mental health wise, you can't get real help, air quote, as a veteran until you're psychiatrically hospitalized, until you're involuntarily committed, until you're under a Baker Act because you're suicidal, homicidal, or hearing voices, whatever. You're not getting adequate treatment. They're getting treatment for 72 hours, then waiting a month to see a therapist or a month to see a psychiatrist. And that stuff is not being monitored. And a lot of the things that are happening as far as mental health wise are things that are exacerbated and or created due to their service. None of that is mitigated or decreased as far as risk factor wise by serving in the military.
What?
You know, the thing that really just got me was the fact that you said they're not going to pretty much get help unless they're involuntarily institutionalized.
It's difficult. I mean, and that's the reality of mental health across the board. It is just now, air quote, a catchphrase. It's just now a cool thing to see a therapist. It's just now being lobbied for actual legislation, actual bills that pass and that matter. It's just October of 2018, October 1st, it was passed that a person that has PTSD and or any kind of trauma as a first responder is able to keep their job. Like, I go to work, I get shot at, I develop a trauma response. My brain systems that are bad are happening that aren't presently happening. And then I lose said job as a result that I got on this job. So they just started putting in place things of that nature. The suicide rates for veterans and first responders are through the roof. The data is there, but the research and the boots on the ground, if you will, to be able to help alleviate that problem and walk through that with somebody, those things are not in place. We have data for eons.
Yeah.
But data is nothing without any kind of action. It's a policy without a procedure. So we know there's an issue that's there. We know there's things that need to be done. There's ways to mitigate it. But in order to actually get somebody in to do that, funding for training to be able to do these things well doesn't exist. So just having I am a therapist and I specialize in these traumatic areas. I'm not a generalist. I don't just see anybody. Just like you won't go to your eye doctor and your foot doctor for the same issue. There needs to be a specialization of treatment of those who are well-versed in military first responder life that can then say, hey, I understand the culture, whether I have or have not lived it, and then understand now when I get somebody to finally come and ask for help, they need that help now. They don't need that help in a month or in 3 months or in 4 months or when I feel like it.
Yeah.
Because now what happens is when they finally muster up the courage to say, hey, I need this help, and you push them away, get them a number to call, more than likely that person's not calling back. It's not just a toothache. Their marriage may depend on it. Their livelihood or their life itself may depend on it. But we don't have a system that's built to be responsive. We are not a preventive society. We are a cure society. We're going to go through and fix things after they happen versus preventing them.
Well, more like treating the symptoms of them.
This is what I heard. I want to jump to. I heard that, Ms. Jess, maybe you can help me with this statistic, Stu, you as well. Every 65 seconds, they say 22 veterans a day commit suicide.
I think it's 31 a day as of last year's stats, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Now,
31 a day.
Right.
No, we have 24 hours in a day. And 31 veterans each day. And that would be just the ones that are actually reported.
Correct.
Exactly. Because coming home, see, you're not properly prepared. We're not properly exited or prepared for life after the military. Okay.
Right.
The only job I can get of my 20 years of service, to be honest with you, is I can be a hitman
Or what security?
or work in a security field. Seriously. Okay. And I was told this. I can be a security guard, maybe a policeman, but I could be a definite. I could be a hitman.
And this is the Marine addressing Miss Jess about the.
Yes, sir.
You said you work in a trauma center, or you just dealt with trauma patients, or what?
Yeah, she's a social worker.
I own my own practice. I'm a social worker. I own a group practice in Davie, and I specialize in trauma, vicarious trauma, burnout, and work-life balance. So I'm EMDR trained, brain spotting trained. I do a lot of like body-based therapies. So all of my training is trauma-focused.
I was bringing this up because I do have a family member that was, or a brother that was, and they tell us they tell you to call a hotline, once you call for an appointment or whatever the appointment may be. And of course, they'll say if you experience some mental health issues, call a hotline. Well, he actually went to the VA hospital, and they didn't take him seriously. They kept telling him, giving him the standard candy, the Motrin, or tell him to take this and call us in the morning type stuff. And he kept saying that he was having trouble sleeping, and he's all different things, and they wouldn't respond. They didn't take him seriously. And my sister was not in the military. She had to call me, and I wound up going to the city where he is, and I tried to assist him. We wound up having to 302 him. So the reason I was asking Miss Jess, she was asking for help, and they didn't believe him. And then he did something, and they wound up having to 302 him. And they didn't believe my sister, but because another veteran came, now you want to take it seriously. But my sister's trying to assist my brother, that they weren't taking him seriously until that happened. Now you want to take it seriously because now you had to be 302 just.
And a 302 is what exactly?
Involuntary hospitalization. That's going to be whatever the code for our Florida's Baker Act. That's going to be an inpatient psychiatric stay.
Right.
Wow.
But it's very common. We were out of town this past week, on Monday actually. My husband's father had a stroke, and we were out of town. And I got a call for a crisis case, and somebody tried to end their life, and it took my team and I, as licensed professionals, 14 hours to get somebody to respond. Like, literally, like, we are licensed. We decided to file paperwork. It took forever. So we're now like, okay, as licensed people who have the power and ability to commit somebody under a 302 or a Baker Act here in the state of Florida, it's taking all of that time to get the right pieces in order. Imagine someone who doesn't know the jargon clinically, who doesn't know what to say, how to ask for help, trying to call and say that there's an issue. Then we talk about the rates of suicide going through the roof.
Right.
The system is broken.
And the military has an awful high divorce rate. You know that, right?
That's the other thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at one time the divorce rate in the military was something like 87%. Okay? Because if it ain't raining, we ain't training. If it ain't snowing, we're not going. Seriously, it's not raining, we're not training. It's not snowing, I'm not going. Don't get me wrong. And I love my country.
Yes.
Okay. But Ms. Jeff said some things that are so very important. The system is broken.
No, we understand that. We know it's a volunteer service when we signed up. We understand the nature of the business, and inherently, we all understand that we may eventually have to go in harm's way. We understand all that. But when we make it out of harm's way and
Exactly.
come home, that's the issue.
Don't blow us off.
Yeah,
Right.
who is there for you?
And there's a lot of people we get blowed off. We get blowed off, man. And we get blowed off bad, man.
And
And it's painful.
these are the things that I don't understand. I said it to people close to me that are veterans. I think I said it to you most recently, Donnie, that you guys should have the best retirement package ever. Because you are the ones putting
Hear my
your
husband
lives.
gripe on who does the Senate and the House. Like, he gets so mad every time there's some kind of he's like, these people served for 2-3 years and they're paid for life.
Yes.
I literally risked my life and they cut my GI Bill. I got to wait 4 months to get into the VA. This is my
Yeah.
husband's not a complainer. He doesn't get mad about a lot. This stuff grinds his gears.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's not,
I
that
wouldn't-
proves that
I
it's not
wouldn't-
inability. That means
Yeah,
that
I
we have
wouldn't go
the
in there.
ability.
No, but
I wasn't going to go there. I'm glad you went there.
and that's
Miss Jack. I
fine.
didn't cut you off.
You don't have to go there. I will go there. Because I have veterans in my family. I have a veteran in my house.
Yeah.
And it's not like anybody's looking for a handout of anything.
Right.
No, nobody's is looking for a handout. It's just you put when you put your life on the line for something, you'd expect that you'd at least get a little bit of care, especially when it comes to a country, a whole country. And here's the kicker. I am not one for wars, really, at all. Because the very same way that someone in the US will have the opinion of someone in a foreign country is the very same way that person in a foreign country can have an opinion of the people in the US. And it's all based on the information that they have. We here in the US are being fed that the people in the Middle East are anti-democratic, they're anti-US, they're anti-this, they're anti... So what do you think they're being told about the US? So now, everybody in the US, and it only takes someone with enough influence to say, hey, let me get this group here riled up, just enough that they can go and execute my mandate.
Okay, so now you're all in my little neuroscience nerd area. So we are social creatures. There's something called operant conditioning. We are taught by our environment how our environment should respond to us and protect us.
Yeah.
So it is not unusual for someone to grow up in a home where, like, God bless America, there's no place else. Like to grow up and say that I have pride in my country.
Right.
I'm a first generation Haitian American. My parents are first generation to come over. I'm the first person to be born in my family, which from a country is now a fourth world country. And there are things that they've heard about America, air quote, about this dream that they were taught that they got here.
Yes.
And on the other side of the fence, it wasn't necessarily that green. So there are things that we are taught about how things are supposed to be. And we hold those as universal truths, that it is the only way that is correct and right, because that is all we know.
Right.
But we should also then introduce the idea that there are good people everywhere.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Just like there's buttholes everywhere. Like, I'm a Christian, there's buttholes in the church. Like,
Yep.
I'm like, how do you live for God and shout and you're a whole jerk? But I'm confused. Like, as a therapist, I'm scratching my head. Like, you live for this all-loving, all-serving, wonderful God, and you're a whole jerk in real life.
Right.
So even worse.
The word says the church work is some peculiar people.
Say that again, Maureen.
I said the word says that church folks are some peculiar people.
Yeah.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. But there are all those things that we're taught as far as what's right and what's wrong and how to live our lives and how to, like, so we were traveling today. And I was in the airport and people, I was like, you don't say thank you? Like, listen, you're not going to say thank you? Like, that to me was never an option. Even as a whole adult that pays my own mortgage now, that can slam doors in my own house, I still say please and thank you.
Right.
So I was taught that. I was conditioned that was appropriate to greet the janitor and the CEO the same way. So somebody is taught to simply hate us based on the color of our skin, our nation of origin, all those things. That doesn't mean that they believe in their innermost parts. It is formed even into the muscles of how their brain operates. There's literally been brain scans done on how people will respond. So let's say that you think black is bad, and you look at somebody that's black, it shows up different in a brain scan than somebody who maybe was European. Like, those things you just can't unlearn or undo. It takes tons of time. Like, our brain holds on to core memories and different things, which is why trauma is such a difficult thing to treat, because our brain is now working against the things that are bad, that are happening now, that aren't really happening. So all trauma is hypervigilance. It's the idea that my brain is telling me that I've got to fight, flight, or flee from an issue that's not even a real danger in that moment, and my body is responding, and those around me are like, oh my gosh, you're crazy. No, I'm having a trauma response. Something traumatic happened to me.
Right.
And now my body is trying to keep me safe, help me regulate that, don't ostracize me. But we're taught that somebody jumps when you slam a door, they're crazy.
Right.
Miss Jess?
Yes, sir?
I won't mention any of their names, but I do have a couple of friends that tell me that when they apply for work, when they'll say, we hire veterans and we love our veterans, and they apply for the job, and the veterans may be almost overqualified for a position, and as soon as they admit, or they have to go to a clinic and say they're being treated for PTSD, they get looked at totally different, and now they're looking to find any excuse to get rid of our veterans. So how do you address that?
It's another systemic issue. So my husband moved here from Maryland before we got married and went to a veterans job fair. They hired him at IHOP. My husband has an IT background, was a crew chief working on planes. They got him a job at IHOP. So, like, when I say the system is broken, it's not. Kev, please don't get me started. I'm trying to keep my professional hat on. I just came from Bible study. Don't take me there. I literally just got walking door from Bible study. Please let me not be with them butthole Christians tonight. So, yes.
I just left Maryland. I spent 16 years, 17 years in Maryland.
Whereabouts?
The VA needs a lot of work in Maryland. It needs a lot of work.
I don't know anywhere that it doesn't. I haven't got a story of the VA anywhere that is a good story.
I'm going to tell you something. I'm now residing in Texas, and I'll say this. Texas, Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. Texas is very veteran friendly. Very veteran friendly. I was shocked. The people in Texas, they treat veterans very different. I'm going to be honest about this. Every place I go here in Texas, and I'm wearing a veteran's hat, they say thank you for your service. Every place I go. The system here is a tad different. And I was told this many years ago, even before I came here, you need to move to Texas. And I had a lot of friends here, and I was a little leery about coming to Texas. But it's nothing like what people paint it to be. Texas is very veteran friendly. I'm just going to say something. The same paperwork that I had carried forth in Maryland, and it took eons to even get looked at, Texas took care of it within inside of 6 months. Seriously.
So that may be a state level thing. So the federal administration, when you go down to state level and how that money and that time is allocated, even though all the pay grades are the same, G this, G that, all of that, depending on how a state allocates funds towards Veterans Affairs and how the legislation and lobbying works around that, directly impacts the level of service and care you will get at a VA hospital.
Even though when it gets, even after the state, there are people here within the system that they work harder pushing it when it gets to the federal, when it gets federal. Seriously. They work a lot harder here. And I'm being honest about this.
Well, because you are in a veteran friendly state, and it shouldn't be the case. It should be just treatment should be Class A treatment
across the board, and right, Maureen. That's
no matter where you go.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going to go too.
And I don't care if you serve or it says you have to be just 180 days on active duty. I don't care if you were in for 2 years, 3 years, 15 or 20 years. Once you put that uniform on and you spent 180 days on active duty, you are a veteran.
Yep.
Right.
You are a veteran.
You treated
Okay.
the same.
You exactly. And you, for family members, you are military.
Mhm.
Okay. You have to put up with my goodness. You family members, you're military as well. Do not think that you are not military because you are. Because it's a rough job being married to someone that's in the military. It's not. It's
Hey,
a rough
man, let me pass
Yep.
my offering to you, sir. Let me go ahead and slide you an offering because I agree. I love you, babe, but I agree. Oh, I agree.
Man, it is a rough job,
Yeah.
man or woman, being married to someone in the military, because we're on duty 24 hours of the day, 7 days of the week, 365 days of the year.
Now, yeah, we can say, I know law enforcement, anybody in law enforcement listening to this, they can jump in and say, well, what about us, law enforcement and our first responders and our fire department? We understand high divorce rates and those also, but the difference is you're not being deployed at any moment, at any given time. You're still there. We understand. We know that it is the nature of your profession that you chose. At
Yes.
any moment, you can be called to go in harm's way.
At any moment. And I've been
Leave this
caught.
country.
Right, that's right.
Well, you know-
I was called. That's right. I've had to get up out of the bed at 12, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I keep my duffel bag packed by the back door.
Right.
And a lot of times, like they say, mission and destination unknown.
Yep.
There's some places that I had to go to. I couldn't even tell my family.
Yeah, but the key is when you come back, and Kevin, you're when you started, you were talking about how veterans are basically vetted, how veterans are treated once we return.
Yes.
And that is the key. That is the key.
You know, it is
So I have
baffling
a joke,
to me.
Which
Okay.
is probably, you guys will probably laugh. So,
Yeah,
I guess with you guys, I'm a service to the Armed Forces facilitator. So my first mission, if you will, to go to speak. I was speaking at Air Force, but Ray, come with me. So I go to this, and it's a pre-deployment day. So they're going through all these workshops. When I get in, and I've been working with first responders. This is my first lesson in military and first responders. Very different. So like, oh, we're going. So I'm all like, okay, well, where are you going? My husband looks at me. He's like, what? He's like, that's classified. I'm like, classified as what? And mind you, I am like completely oblivious, super green, and the whole was like, where did you find this lady? My husband was to stop asking dumb questions, ask people talk. Because first responders can say, hey, I'm stationed here. I've got XYZ clearance. My job is. He was like, there were people in that room that were clearly super high up, that would work very secret missions that they would go to their grave with. And I'm just like,
right.
how they sat? He's like, just by looking around the mic, how people sat, what their rank was, what they did, and how classified their jobs were. And again, so like, there's a lot of things you really just don't know. So I'm coming in like, this is so excited, like super green, first one ever. This is going to be great. I'm going to change the whole world. Like, when I talk about the importance of training, like in really identifying who you can help and knowing your limits. So I'll say, like I said, military spouses, that's a real close. When I get invited in, I come in with bells on and I'm super excited. Other than that, they look at you like you don't even belong. Like I've walked on, so I do a lot of work with our special ops unit down south. And until they know like who I am, people will not even speak to me on base.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like I walked out there, you think I was invisible. Like I had an Emperor's New Clothes. Like you would think that I'm looking like, can you see me? Like will not even speak to me.
Right.
And I had to learn. Don't be offended. They don't know who you are. They're at work. You're coming in as a stranger in civilian. Everyone else is walking around in their greens, like in their fatigues, and I'm walking in as a stranger. One guy was like, well, you made me some coffee. And I was like, 1 second. I just walked to the platform. And I'm so sorry. Okay, you didn't know any better. But they call and they ask for me every time. They will fly me out. I've been flown out to Alabama to an inpatient psych ward because they were like, I want the best in the country. And they flew me out there.
Right.
And when the door slammed me on up, I didn't look at them like they're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
A door slammed. Y'all have been in active fire. Like, people are crawling under chairs. Look around and we're safe. Let's do a grounding exercise. Do you see anything that reminds you of combat in this room? How do you get yourself safe? But if you don't have that skill set and know how to get somebody back from that unsafe place, you're not doing good work. And I think it's important for other providers to learn it's not the glory of saying, hey, I was military families. It's not the glory of saying, hey, I'm a crisis responder. Because being a crisis responder means that if my phone rings at 3 a.m. and somebody's in crisis, my job is to get up and go and ask about payment and everything else later. It's not an issue. Okay, well, what's your insurance? Oh, there's an issue, and I get up and I go.
Right.
It takes a special person to be able to do that. That's like a whole husband at home and a whole business to run and all these other things to get done. But if I don't stop and say that this one person matters, an entire community will be riveted because that person will end up taking their own life. Or even worse, attempting and then failing, and then having a family who has somebody who attempted to hurt themselves that didn't succeed, that now is a caregiver for someone who doesn't want to be alive. So now I've failed at trying to end my own life on top of all these other feelings of failure, and I can't get my therapist on the phone. I can't get my pain medicine on time. That's crazy. The system
I can't get seen. Period.
Right.
I don't have anybody to talk to. Period.
Exactly. I like something that Ms. Jess that she just brought up. She just brought up a great point, ladies and gentlemen. And this is what I see going on. People now, she just said something. It's not about money. It's about what I can do for that person right now. There's a lot of people, somehow money has become a huge root of all evil now. Okay? A lot of people don't even move unless you waving some dollars in front of their face right off the bat.
Very true.
And I'm being serious. The young lady, she just said, we don't worry about the money, right? We do the mission. The mission comes first. People now have become so money driven. They have become it's like my sister has a saying. She says, you're only as good as your last favor. When you run out of favor, you run out of people. You run out of friends. You're only as good as your last favor.
Very true.
I think that we have to get to a point in our life where we're willing to freely give our gifts. So when I work for the American Red Cross, I get paid $0. Like, they pay me nothing. They just fly me out, put me in a hotel, and they pay for my food. I go somewhere else $500 to $1,500 a week for 45 minutes. But as a service to my country, when I walk into that room, those vets get $2,000 an hour service.
Right.
Because they chose to go somewhere that I am not willing to even go through training for, to make sure things that I take for granted as freedoms, I never think about.
Yeah.
I never think about being able to open my Bible and worship freely in my country. Never.
Yeah.
I never have to worry about my safety because we have people who are out there fighting for it. Like, I'm not worried about my house being bombed. Like, those are things that I'm worrying about because there's somebody out there that's never met me, whose mom will never meet me, who may just have a flag just over their casket because they served to save my life. It is an honor for me to serve in that way. It is a privilege for me to have access to those who have gone through and done that work. So it's not even a favor, it's service. Like, you have a gift, and it's no good unless you give it freely. Do I work for free all day long? Absolutely not. I have a mortgage. I've got a landlord.
Right.
But I respond to communal trauma as well. So when we had the Parkland shooting, I signed up for a listing called Professionals Down for Parkland, and I'm a trauma therapist that responds to communal trauma. If there's a suicide in our area, I show up and I respond to that free of charge for the family. That's something I can go through. I can never repay nobody can ever give, there's not a price that I can put and say, hey, you're burying your first child or you're burying your husband. Here, there's no amount that anybody could ever pay. Those thank yous, the hugs of moms whose kids are going on their first deployment ever, when they hug you with their whole heart and a tear hits your shoulder, there's no money that would ever replace that.
That's right.
But I also have a natural serving and giving heart. But if you never get the opportunity to be able to serve in that way, you won't understand the value of the dollar you make when you are working somewhere else.
but just you're rare breed. So you're operating on Christian morals. Unfortunately, with my brother Donnie said that it's money driven. He says the love of money is the root of all evil. And now I'm going to make a compliment just to what you said. I heard you say earlier about the VA. The VA is unfortunately overwhelmed because for whatever reason, you said somebody told me we're hiring at the VA. There's a lot of job openings. Unfortunately, they're still overwhelmed, and that's why they start to contract them out to civilian doctors. But then the domino effect happens when the civilian doctors that may be qualified and may be specialists don't want to take a VA contract because they complain about they're not getting paid properly by the VA. And the VA tells them, puts a limit on what they can charge.
Right.
So
right.
because of all that, treatment suffers.
I agree.
It's a horrible cycle. It's a horrible
and
cycle.
we talk in the office about this all the time, like what we can do to make changes. Like my team and I sit down and we have conversations ad nauseum about like what can we do to make a change in the system of care. And we've realized to date that we're doing all that we can. Some of us lobby, some of us go through, and like I'm not a lobbyist. That's not an area that I'm like super passionate about. But I do a lot of grassroots work. So being able to come together and say, hey, you're going to go through and you're going to lobby. You're going to go through and you're going to call your senator and your commissioner. You're going to go through and I'm going to apply for a job at the VA and do whatever. Finding ways to be a light, because the truth of the matter is we can't fix an entire system. But if one person goes into work and has good work ethic and does it, people will either rise to that standard or not want to be around them. But that one person will be a light. So my husband's arm doctor now that sat and listened to us, because she was like, no, he's fine. And I was like, I don't think you hear what I'm saying to you. Like, I will write this to make your head spin. Like, I will write a letter to the and I will make your head spin. I'm a wordsmith. Don't play with me. And the social worker got me. They were like, oh, okay, I'm going to get you to the doctor. I was going to help. So the social worker was like, oh my gosh, I'm so serious. Like, I will write a letter that will make your head spin. But not everyone knows what to say again and how to advocate. But that social worker got me to the right doctor who saw him and treated him. He had surgery within 4 months. Mind you, after that, they chopped all his benefits, like literally. He had the surgery, and like a month later, they cut all his benefits off. Like he literally just went down to like basic PCP care.
You've got to be kidding.
Because they believe that he was cured. I've heard that. Somebody said, I have a friend, I actually have a friend, we and I had this conversation about a month ago. There was a veteran who was getting a certain percentage, had a medical procedure. The VA downgraded, lowered his procedure, his benefits, because they said, oh, now you've had the surgery, you're cured now.
No, but I mean, like, he just got, like, he didn't get any special benefits, no disability, nothing, like, but they literally, after his surgery, lowered his regular, like, basic, like, and he went from, like, Medicare to, like, literally almost, like, out-of-pocket pay, I'll get to you when I get to you.
Hey, Jess and Kevin, I want to ask you real quick a question for Jess and Kevin.
Yeah.
Guys, if you don't mind, I have an early start tomorrow, so I may have to break away after this.
Okay.
After this remark, if anybody cares to respond to it. But I just want to ask Kevin and Jess. I just heard this. I don't know if it was YouTube where I heard it. Some gentleman is trying to start a new program to solicit doctors to volunteer to serve veterans pro bono.
No.
Or volunteer to service veterans. They said a doctor, a dentist. If one of you can probably join this program, if you can just pretty much out of the kindness of your heart under the pro bono, if you can serve a veteran for a day or two, and if your office can, if you guys can check on this, I just heard it maybe a week or so ago.
I'll definitely look into it. I never heard about it.
If you can find information on that and let me know, I know myself and other providers are willing to do that. Like I take on one free Parkland kid a year. So one child that was affected or adult that was affected by the Parkland shooting, I take them on pro bono. They don't pay $1 for therapy. But as far as a program, like an entire like coalition of people that do that, other than PU4P that is specifically in response to Parkland, I don't know of a veteran-specific or military-specific program. I know they hire now MFLACs to go out to the bases as non-military personnel, but as family life counselors. I've got a girlfriend, she's actually now in South Korea, that they bring them in, but I've not heard of a pro bono program.
No, it's not a program right now. Someone is trying to get something started, kind of under the Good Samaritan umbrella.
Yeah, if you can find me that information.
Yeah. Okay.
Kevin has my email. The best way to contact me, all of that. But yeah, if you find that, I have no problem like promoting that to other therapists that would be interested in getting involved. I think it's really important. I think it's very, very important. And the cool thing about, like, I'm part of the Florida Firefighter Health and Safety Collaboration. Part of being vetted as a clinician for them, you have to literally go in and do like a day of training. They put you in bunker gear and a fire simulation. Like, you go through the whole night of learning the fire station. It's like a 16-hour training.
Wow. Okay.
Well, you have to know what you're dealing with in order to help it.
Right. So there's nothing that I know of like that for the military. There's no like war simulation you can go into. But like for us, it was very important for firefighters to have clinicians that came on board with them that understood the fire life.
Mm-hmm.
So this program is like the first in the nation, and it's really, really great. We send clinicians to fire stations. You do ride-alongs, you get to know everybody, you get to talk to people, and you've been vetted by them. They call it the red line now. And there's literally like, they've also advocated for like regular health insurance for like Cigna and Blue Cross and Blue Shield. If you call and you're a first responder, you get routed through everyone else to get to the top of the line. Things like that are possible, again, but I don't lobby, so I wouldn't even know how to start that chain of command to say, hey, first responders get it, the red line gets it. Well, firefighters specifically get it, the red line gets it. They've put this program together. They train clinicians for free to be able to go through and do this program. And then they vet you as you're able to really work with them. You have to do a certain amount of ride-alongs, meet with the chief, like you go through the whole like staff thing. But you're spending days with these people learning their lifestyle. And that experience, though not actually a first responder, allows that piece that the Marine was talking about as far as empathy with the sympathy.
Right. It makes a big difference. And you know what? I encourage people to not wait until November when the nation is celebrating Veterans Day to recognize that these people exist. You know, and I really believe that in the U.S., because typically it seems like when a nation recognizes a particular day, when that day is coming up, and when that day is when people recognize it and they remember that it's happening, and then it passes, and then it's like back to normal. You know, everybody for themselves. We need to.
Something else that's rampant that makes me angry. While I'm talking about things that piss me off, the population of homeless veterans really grinds my gears as well.
And this comes back to what I said earlier. With veterans should have the best retirement package ever. Because
a lot of the homelessness is also mental health issues. Yes, I know you know that part.
Exactly, and substance use exacerbated by untreated mental health disorders.
Yeah.
Right.
But like, so in Florida, we used to have a program where it was the Beds Hotline, and we had 11 facilities in Broward County, my county alone, that had bed space available, so that if you were homeless or chronically homeless, you go through, get 3 hot meals and a shower, as well as some treatment in the day, and it was free of charge. They closed down 10 of the 11 in 2019.
Doesn't make sense.
So now they're doing, instead of homeless encampment, so like Kev, like downtown Las Olas, the encampment is, so now we're creating spaces with literally just buying tents and teaching people to almost be nomadic versus saying, hey, let me help you with life skills and job skills and the services that you need, because nobody wants to be an alcoholic or a drug addict or suffering from mental health and not having it treated. Right. And I've worked in prisons, in mental health facilities with human trafficking victims, juvenile sex offenders. I have worked the gamut. And none of those people want to be suffering. None of them.
No
one's pushing a needle in their arm just because they're bored.
Right.
I have an early rise tomorrow. I got a couple of things I need to take care of. I just want to thank Kevin and Donnie for inviting me, and Kevin for the platform, and just for your insightful input. I really appreciate that. It gave me a lot of food for thought. I just want to thank you all.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you for supporting my fellow serviceman. I appreciate you being a backbone for him.
Yeah,
it is my honor to serve.
It's an honor, sir.
That's my love.
I appreciate it. And I want to thank you all, but I'm going to have to say good night, and Donnie and I, if Donnie can reach me if anything else comes
Yes.
up that he may need, he my sister-in-law. But I appreciate your platform, Kevin.
And
Absolutely,
thank you.
Kevin.
Well, it's here for you guys. Trust me.
I want to say good night to you.
Good night.
Good
my
night,
brother.
and thank you for your
Rest
service again.
well.
All right, you too. All right. Happy New Year to all of you as well.
Absolutely.
And to you, sir.
Kevin and Jeff, and Kevin, I just want to commend you, my brother, for doing this. Seriously.
It's something that needs to be talked about, really, Kevin. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely,
We appreciate
man.
you being brave enough to want to have a platform like this.
Thank you.
Absolutely. That's like, it takes some kind of brave to do this.
Yeah.
Seriously, because it shocked me for a minute. I'm like, oh man, now we're going in the waters where no one wants to go.
Yep.
You know, and
That's where Kevin lives.
Thanks,
He lives,
Jess.
he lives in shark infested waters.
I said, oh, this man is going to the waters. I thought I was the only one who went in these waters. I got a friend like to go in these kind of waters. I mean, now we're hitting waters. See, you strike a nerve when you do this, and right. we need to strike a nerve. Okay,
Yeah.
In light of what's going on at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, we need to strike a nerve now. If we don't strike a nerve now, if we don't stand up now, we're gonna have a serious problem.
So I appreciate it. I'm gonna have to say good night, guys.
Good night, my brother.
Good night, Maureen. Take care.
Good night, sir.
All right. Okay.
We have to say something now.
Yeah.
And we have to use every available resource. We have to use every voice. Okay? And I don't care I don't care your color. I don't care where you're from. We're all from the same creator.
That's right.
And I'm just gonna say this. We may have come over on different ships, but we're in the same boat now.
There you go. There you go.
We're in the same boat now, man.
In the same boat. Yes, sir.
We may have come here and done different ships on different terms, but we're in the same doggone boat now. And we need to all wake up and smell the coffee. And we are our brothers and sisters' keepers. And you can't help everybody. But there are some people out there that really want to be helped. Okay?
Right.
And it's time that we form the biggest link, we build the biggest bridge that we can build. Because there's strength in numbers. There is strength. See, Dr. King, I'm a Dr. King baby. I'm just gonna say this. They had less and they did more. We have far more and we're doing a lot less.
Oh yeah.
And we need to put the ball in motion. Florida, Texas, we need to all come together as one. And we're gonna have a serious problem.
Well, that's
And
something that I don't know. It's something that goes across the board, where instead of coming together as one, we stand individually.
we got to stop that. There's no more time to be individuals.
Yeah,
no more time.
the working as a collective doesn't seem to make sense to anybody. The we are a community, the we are a family. That doesn't seem to work with people, and it works a whole lot less as I get older. I see it happening a whole lot less. I grew up in a community type setting where you walk around and the people that come around often move from being just Mr. This or Mr. That, and you start saying, okay, uncle and auntie, and they have that kind of responsibility in your life without being blood relatives. So we end up growing a community out of love. We stand as individuals, so we don't even know our neighbors.
But that was also systemic. Like, there was a systemic divide of community and culture because they know that divided we're not going to stand. So, like, I am probably the youngest person on this call. I'm just turned 34. And when I was a teenager, my neighbors could still beat me in the early 2000s. Like, it was no questions about who don't talk to me. Like, we had an incident at the office of these young girls came in at, like, 8 o'clock at night telling kids, where's your parent?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was like, if we go out there, if there's parents out there, they're going to cause a scene, even though we're right in asking this question to be concerned. Everyone was like, man, like, is it worth making sure these kids are safe? Like, 'cause I was like, it was dark outside, and my office is like off of, like, it's on the side of a highway. So I'm like, how did these kids get here? So now we're sitting, we're talking, and then another older kid comes in. I'm like, okay, so if you're like 15 and she's like 12 or 8, who drove y'all here? Like, how did you guys get here?
Right.
And why are you guys panhandling in offices and loitering at this time of the evening?
Mm-hmm.
And the first response was, if we go out there, more than likely there's going to be an angry black mom out there about how we talking to her kids. And I was like, and mind you, we're all black and brown. Like, we're Haitian, Trinidadian. And we were like, isn't that crazy that the first thought was, in trying to help this person, we were probably going to get fussed out?
Yes. Yeah.
And everyone was like, that's crazy. Because I remember when I was a kid, as long as you were an adult,
Yes.
I couldn't breathe in your direction crazy. Forget even talk to you crazy. I
Right.
couldn't even breathe looking in the direction you were standing.
Doesn't matter if they know who your parents are or not. You're an adult. That's where it stops.
And it's different because my husband is also saying all the time, like, Jessica, we have righted ourselves wrong. We have all these rights, and now we are so wrong. So we have the right to do this and the right to do that. We're so worried about our rights and our liberties and our freedoms that we literally put ourselves that we're like now in a ball and chain, because when we should be able to ask for community to do X, Y, Z, we can't, because I don't know my neighbors. I can't ask for help. I can't go and borrow sugar, like whatever that particular thing is. Or I can't say, hey, do you have this? Can I have it? Or may I borrow it? Can I get it later? Because we're so stuck on me, and we're like these crabs in a barrel.
Yeah.
If I can't get out, you can't get out. We're going to stay here and be miserable, versus saying, hey, you know what? I have 2 bricks, and you have 2 bricks. We have 4 bricks. We're going to get a little taller than we were before. But no, if I give you my 2 bricks and you get ahead of me, then what?
Right. And you know, it's and people might think that, you know, we're veering off topic or anything like that. No. This is the foundation of what we've been talking about all night. Because we can't stop for a minute to say, you know what, this person over here needs my help. Not that this person over here is a stranger. This person over here needs my help. You can provide some help, give the help. Our veterans have gone out and fought for people in this country that they don't know. And just said it earlier. Somebody is laying in a box somewhere with a flag draped over it that fought for some things that we take for granted. They don't know us.
Do you both know that when the Vietnam veterans came home, they were spit on and called baby killers? You know that, right?
I did not know that. I was trying to reach out to a Vietnam vet, and in fact, he came back with his wife is Vietnamese, and
I know he called it,
and he probably did, but he doesn't talk about it. Well, not to anybody else. And you know, I'd love to speak to a Vietnam vet, really and truly, because that's a different kind of a war. And this that you just said, I didn't know that, Donnie. I had no clue.
I'm gonna try, and because my brother goes to bed quite early, but I'm gonna try and get him in the coming weeks if I can to stay up. I came along. I could, man. I seen some things within my own household as a young man, and it carried over into my adult life that they were just heartbreaking. Like I just told you, he was my half brother. He was missing in action twice during Vietnam. He came home and called baby killers at the airports. A lot of them couldn't even get their jobs back. Okay,
right.
This country, they're trying to make up for it now. They treated Vietnam veterans very poorly, man, very poorly. And they know they did.
Our veterans now are, with the exception of the name calling on the placards, and they're not being treated any better.
It really hasn't changed. And so we're still slacking in a lot of services. And I tell people this, and I mean it. I shouldn't have to fight the country that I've raised my hand to protect. for any service.
Right.
We should be. In a few years ago, veterans. I think it happened out in Arizona at one of the VAs. A gentleman blew the whistle on what was going on out there at the VA. Veterans were dying, literally dying in the hallways trying to get health care. Walter Reed Hospital right there in Washington, D.C., I don't even know if it's still open anymore. It was a sore eye. It was a sore eye. I'm going to invite everyone. There's a movie that everyone should go watch, and it explains war. Okay? It's Matthew McConaughey did the movie, and he blackballed for this movie. It's called The Free State of Jones. Go watch that movie.
The Free State of
Called
Jones?
what?
The Free State of Jones. Matthew McConaughey, he produced it, he starred in it, he directed it. It's his movie, okay? And he's from Texas, okay? And this is based on a true story on what war is really about, okay? All that, go watch this movie.
It's a 2016 film. I'm definitely looking at it. Yep.
That's right. It didn't get any blow. It didn't get any big blow at any movie theaters because it's all based on it's fact of what really happened. The Civil War wasn't about freeing any slaves.
Yeah, it's a Civil War movie. Yes.
Yeah, the Civil War is about cotton, about money.
Right.
Civil War wasn't about no slavery. And I heard this too many times before. Civil War wasn't about no slavery, man. Okay? We're in conflicts right now that we shouldn't even be in.
Yeah.
We got to take care of home first.
That's right.
We got to take care of the home front first. And then you expand outside of that. We got to take care of the 50 states. Case two, you did a show and you're in Florida, and I listened to that show and my mouth hit the floor, and you talking about the water problem in my hometown of Michigan.
Yeah.
We got dirty drinking water in Flint, Michigan. And then I heard you say something about the water's bad in parts of Florida.
Yeah, with pipes bursting and
right,
stuff.
Exactly.
Heavy
These
metals
issues
in the
have to
water,
be,
things like that, yeah.
They have to be, they have to be addressed here on the home front. And people from other countries are welcome here, okay? I don't care what number 45 says. And,
Right.
and the American dream, it's full of foo-foo rah.
The American
Okay.
dream has
And
become
I
a nightmare for so
It's
many.
become a nightmare. That's right. That's right. It's become a nightmare. It's not a dream. It used to be a dream. And my father served this country. My goodness. And he went on and he retired from General Motors. And they worked on the United Auto Workers principle. We, teamwork.
Right.
All teamwork gone. And the American dream has become a nightmare. I don't want to hear anything. I tell people I don't want to hear nothing about all your negatives about this person or that person from this country. Number one, this land belongs to the Indians.
There you go.
This is stolen land.
Yep.
I just had this conversation today. So I have two very pro-black therapists that work with me. And I was like, stop using the word Indian giver. You can't give them that you stole. We didn't give the Indians didn't give your whole land because we took it. You can't. Indian giver is such an appropriated term. I was like literally at 4 o'clock today. I was like, don't call me an Indian giver. They got their land stolen. That literally tickled me because we just talked about that today.
Right.
This land is a known fact.
It's real. Yeah.
This land was stolen from a group of people. How can I discover something that people were already
there
and occupying? Okay? In Texas, it's Mexico.
Yeah.
It's all stolen land.
Yep.
And no one person can make America great again.
Nah. That comes back to
Okay.
what we were talking about just now with being a community.
That's right. No one person can make America great again. And there are no big eyes and little U's. And I see that even within our little arena of broadcast carriers. Everybody wants to be king of the hill.
Yeah.
And I asked them, well, when you get to the top, and you're number one, you're going to be there by yourself. It's awful lonely at the top.
Very lonely. We don't think
I
about
don't want
those
to be king
things.
of the, I don't need to be, we can all be kings and queens of the hill. And there's enough pie at the table for everyone to get a slice of the pie.
Indeed.
There's enough pie for everyone.
Is obese? You probably need to stop eating pie. We all big with hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol.
Right.
How you stop eating pie and start working out? Doing some military drills.
Greed has gotten it. People say, "How did we get here?" Greed got us here.
Yes.
Greed. It's called good old fashioned greed, and it's called me, mine, and I.
Self-centeredness.
iPhone, iPad, iPod. But me, mine, and I. What's in it for me? And it's all about me now.
Yeah.
It's not about us anymore. It's about me, man.
Yeah. This.
And that's
crazy.
where I get off at. When I start hearing me, I say see you later.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have to go. I leave them alone. I walk away. Hey, you don't call me anymore. No, because you talking about me, man. Me. Out here we, and out here we. Nowhere in this conversation. I'm not entertaining it. I got to hear some weeds. Mm-hmm. Okay, we got a me person in office right now, and look at where we are. Look at what's done happened.
But he will say, "I did more for this community," and point out a community than anybody else ever did.
I hate it. I heard it. I'm not gonna mention. I've heard this from another person. I'm the one that did this. I did that. And then a fellow broadcaster. I'm like, really, man? Mm-hmm. Really, bro? It's what you did. What about the people that marched alongside of you, man? Because there were some people I seen in the photo that were marching with you.
Right.
They didn't. You weren't marching by yourself, man. But all I hear is coming out of your mouth is I, bruh. I can't hang out with you like that.
The I that should come out, in my opinion, is I need your help.
Oh,
so that we can do this.
That thing is hard. As a therapist, as a business owner, as a Black woman, when I tell you, like, I have just learned in this past year to say, I need help, help me. We're taught that there's some kind of glory in struggling and being in solitary. Like there is no glory in struggling silently. There's no glory in not asking for. There's no glory in trying to learn everything, spread yourself thin. But learning that lesson and then learning who to trust, military or not, that thing there, no joke.
But Jess, we've spoken about that. We've talked about the strength in vulnerability. We've spoken about that on this show.
Absolutely. It's, mind you, it's still hard all this time later. Still, struggle.
Yes, definitely. I agree 120%.
You know, we have to learn how. I don't know how it's going to happen, but we have to learn how to get back to working together properly. We must learn how to work together properly. We must. We must learn how to work together properly because we slipping. We slipping. And what are we showing the young people under us? What are we really showing them?
How to fail.
How to fail? That's what we're showing them, how to fail.
Yeah. And they don't know. They don't know any different because we sensationalize that failure.
how to fail. We're showing them how to fail. That's sad. We're showing them
Yeah.
how to fail. My goodness. I never looked at it like that.
That's exactly what we're showing them.
How to fail.
And how to with flossing with the gold teeth and the bling here and the fancy car there and the mansion over there, showing them how to fail
Mm.
and sensationalize being by yourself.
Wow. I never looked at it like that. We're showing them how to fail. That's powerful.
That's how I see it.
That's powerful for you to say that.
And you know, I tell Jess whenever we do get to chat that you know I tip my hat to you because outside of working with first responders, just the mere fact that you're trying to change a narrative, you know, it's not easy.
And the weight of it is heavy. You can't put this down. Like when you pick up what you're called to, there's no just setting it back down and coming back to it later on. Like literally, we're about to babe. I haven't called in with Kev in months. I'm gonna call it. And I called in. You were like military. I was like, do you hear this, babe? I was like, this is God. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's 10:27. Let me call in and talk to Kev.
Right.
It's powerful, and people need to know this is happening.
Yeah.
You know, they need to people. You know, I have family members that I don't even talk to. Seriously.
Yeah.
I have family members that I don't even talk to. Haven't talked to in years.
No. Let me help you to correct that statement, Donnie. You have relatives that you haven't spoken to in years.
Exactly. Relatives, exactly.
Because when you're talking about family, you're talking about a different set of people.
I tried, but it was like driving up the street backwards. It was going nowhere.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? I don't have a lot of time spent with this issue. It is what it is.
Right.
You're not understanding. And I have to move on. I'm not mad at you. I just have other things that I have in my life. I'm on a mission that I have to do. They say not everybody's going to be on your journey. Not everybody's going to be on your mission.
That's right.
And
I'm going to tell you something that I learned, that a narrative that I had to change for myself, that I tell every client that walks through my door, is that there's got to be a certain level of selfishness in order to be able to be selfless. So we make selfish very negative and self-serving in this ministry of me.
Oh, yeah.
If I take time out to intentionally care for myself and make sure that I am well, and those that come around me feed me and spark joy and challenge me and correct me and chasten me when necessary, and I stop and take care of myself, when you call me, so I can then be selfless and show up for you whole and well.
Exactly.
People who are not selfish are damaging other people. Because if you're pouring out everywhere and not taking care of yourself, when you're burnt out, you're miserable, you got a bad attitude.
Yeah.
You can't operate at optimum capacity because you've not stopped to take care of yourself.
Yeah, people have a wrong understanding of being selfish. That's why I don't really use the word that way. Self-centered is a word I use when we talk about people that generally we would consider to be selfish. No. Self-centered. Selfish is when you go on that plane and that bag falls from the ceiling and you have to put on yours first so that you can help the person that needs your help. That's selfish. And until people get to understand it in as simple as that, they'll continue to miss the mark.
Absolutely. 100%.
Donnie, Jess, I got to wrap this up. Thank you, guys. Like, Jess, you didn't, apparently, I don't know. It's just divine intervention. You were supposed to be here tonight.
That's how we roll.
Yeah, that's how we roll. Our superheroes therapist. And Donnie, I know you're just gonna take a nap right now to get up and do the show in the
I'm gonna take
morning.
a nap, and absolutely, and I appreciate you for doing this. Seriously, thank you, thank you, and Miss Jess, thank you, and your
My
husband as
pleasure.
well.
Yes.
Seriously, thank you, and thank you, man. This has to come out, and this has to come out.
Well, apparently we're not done with it yet.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said,
Episode 32 loading.
yeah, this has this the whole war and the effect of it, and what has come out of it. You know, it has taken on a life of its own, and it's a necessary life. So the discussion continues.
Indeed.
Thank you, Donnie. We will talk.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jess.
Indeed. Thank you for letting me come in and crash your show like whenever. You just answer, let me just do my own thing. I appreciate you.
Listen, you bring something to this show that I don't have, so I'm glad to have you.
Estrogen?
Well, something else. And,
All right, gentlemen, good night.
I know your husband is glad when you do too, so you know it's a win-win for everybody.
He gets me out of there for a little bit.
Listen, y'all take care.
You too. Good
Enjoy
night.
the rest of the night. Donnie, we'll talk, bro.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. It's a pleasure.
All right.
And thank you.
All right.
All right,
Thank
take
you.
care, man.
Take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. This is where I wrap up for the night. And I do want to encourage you to look out for members of your community. If there's nothing else that you should have taken away from this show, it's that we're a community that needs each other. And your community is not just the development that you live in. It spreads far and wide. The people you pass on the bus, on the plane, on the boat, on the train, whether you walk, ride, or drive, these are members of your community. So do something good for one of them today, because you never know who's going to do something for you tomorrow. My name is DJ Kevin Stew. This is how I like to do it. Every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, 10 to midnight on kevinstew.com and affiliate stations. I do encourage you, be good. But if you can't be good at it. I'm out of here. Take care. Good morning, good afternoon, good day to you, wherever you are in the world. From right here in South Florida, I say good night. Peace, love, blessings. Look out for each other, yeah? All right. Y'all take care. When being in the moment is priceless, consider the ability to share that moment. If you can video it, you can broadcast it. And Pulse E-Media Group has the tools you need. Weddings, birthdays, funerals, graduations, church services, parties, seminars, you name it. Pulse E-Media Group can provide you with a secure medium controlled by you to broadcast your event. Contact us at www.pulsemediagroup.com for more information. Pulse E-Media Group, when being in the moment is priceless.